While some countries are starting to go back to some semblance of normality, more than half of Filipinos are suffering indoors. Having no job to pay the bills and disorganized plans for the economy, they're left to struggle without any certainty, let alone the means to follow the guidelines. Metro Manila has been in lockdown for more than 100 days. So how did it get this bad? Let's go back to when it all started. On January 30, the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed in the Philippines. It took more than a month before, in March 14, Metro Manila and 𝐶 Rizal were placed under community quarantine. That supposedly would last for 32 days.
I am placing the entire mainland of Luzon under quarantine.
In the middle of that month, Europe became the epicenter of the outbreak, reporting over 40% of globally confirmed cases.
Saying more cases and deaths have been reported in the region than the rest of the world combined.
While back in the Philippines,
sa ngayon po, hindi pa naman natin nakikitang kailangan natin gawin ito pong mass testing na ito.
Right. On March 22, Malacanang asked Congress to declare a national emergency.
Powers to President Duterte to effectively address the COVID-19 threat is now up for signing into law. Malacanang says the measure will benefit all sectors, particularly those involved in healthcare and low-income earners.
6 days later, the country had over 1,000 confirmed cases. On March 28, South Korea announced that the number of recovered patients surpassed those under quarantine.
After making full recoveries, raising the total to 7,368.
2 days later, President Duterte allotted 200 billion pesos to help low-income households affected by the lockdown.
To share in the cost of taking care of the less fortunate and keeping our society intact.
On March 31, the number of cases reached 2,000. On April 23, the World Bank approved a $100 million loan for the Philippines' COVID-19 Emergency Response Project. That same day, after a week of no new cases, Vietnam eased quarantine initiatives, allowed businesses to open and increase domestic flights.
The streets of Hanoi are returning to life again. Shops open for business, people out and about, friends enjoying a chat.
But back in the Philippines,
hindi man na-renew ang aming prangkisa at pinatitigil ang ating broadcast, nangangako kami sa inyo, hindi kami mananahimik sa pag-ataking ito sa ating demokrasya at sa malayang pamamahayan.
The National Telecommunications Commission issued a cease and desist order to close ABS-CBN, the longest-running network in the country and probably the only source of news for many. On May 15, Timor-Leste declared itself COVID-19 free. On June 8, New Zealand lifted all COVID-19 restrictions, declaring the nation virus-free.
We now have a head start on our economic recovery.
7 days later, the Manila Trial Court, Branch 46, convicted Rappler CEO and executive editor Maria Ressa and Ray Santos of cyber libel.
But in February 2014, Rappler corrected a typo. The Department of Justice said this constituted republication. The Montesa court sides with the DOJ that the republication constitutes a separate offense.
After 100 days of being on lockdown, on June 22, the total number of confirmed cases in the Philippines reached over 30,000, with almost 1,200 deaths.
We need to get ahead of the virus. That is not what anybody needs right now.
So what went wrong?